This is the timeline of your life. This is where you're born. This is where you'll die. Let's be real optimistic and let's say this is 100 years. I just want to look at the prime years of life. Let's say that you graduated college when you were 22 years old. You're going to retire at the age of 70. So that block of time represents your prime years of life. All right, but we sleep for a third of every day. If we sleep 8 hours a night, that's a third of 24 hours. So if you were to put all of those sleeping sessions back to back, you would have a third of the total time there that's gone to sleeping. So we started with 48 prime years of life, because 70 minus 22 is 48. And if you don't include the time that you're going to spend sleeping, then that's 32 years left of being awake and also in your prime. So now let's look at work. Let's say that you work a typical 9 to 5, 40-hour-a-week job. And let's say that you do that from the time you're 22 until you retire at 70. If you add all of that up, if you do the math, so we have 40 hours per week times 52 weeks per year times 48 years. That is 99,840 total hours. But those are the hours that you're just actually spending at work, which when you think about it, isn't the entirety of all of the hours that you spend because of work. What I mean is, you're probably spending at least a half hour on your way to get to work, driving there, and you're probably spending another half hour on the way back. There's probably an hour that you're doing for your lunch break, and after you get home after a hard day, you're probably going to need a half hour to undo yourself, and there's probably another hour that you take in the morning getting ready. So that's a lot of extra time during the day that you have to devote to your job where you're not actually working. And if you were to actually put all of those into the equation, then what this number would actually look like is 131,040. I'm not going to spell out the math. You can try it yourself. It works out. So if you were to divide that number by the number of hours in a day times the number of days in a year, what we would find here is that we are spending right around 15 years of our waking prime hours either working or doing things related to work. So that's almost half of all of the time that we had left in the prime years of our life while we're awake. I did slightly too much. That's better. So let me ask you again. Where did the time go? You sold it. You sold it to a thankless corporation. You sold it to the hordes of thankless customers. You sold it to the shareholders. You sold yourself the best years of your life so that a few executives could live out the dreams that you always wished you could. But what if you could get those 15 years back? What if we could erase the scribble right here and then not have to devote those 15 years to a stupid job? And get back our 32 years of being awake and in our prime? Well, you would basically double your prime year lifespan. So by now, I hope that you are sufficiently pissed off at the lies that you've been sold and the system that society has forced on us. But now that we're building a way out of that, I want to follow this logic to its conclusion. So our prime year lifespan is the part of our life when we have the potential to do the most and enjoy the most and get the most out of our lives. Sure, we can wait until we're 70 and we can go on vacation and start living it up, but really, you're gonna be 70 years old. There's not gonna be quite as much as you can do as when you're 30. So our prime year lifespan is the best part of our lives, and yet we're expected to work this insane amount of hours. But what if, instead of spending the next however many years working every single day, or every weekday at least, to get to the big payoff of retirement, what if you spend the next 6 months or year working incredibly hard, harder than you've ever worked before, harder than anybody around you, but you were building yourself a money machine. You were doing the right methods, you were working on the right things to ensure your success in a way that will continue to pay off. So that means that, you know what, let's be extra conservative. Let's say it's going to actually take 2 years. So now, instead of having 32 years, we actually have 30 years worth of awake, in our prime life that we can spend living the way that we want to live. And that's instead of the 15 years worth of labor that we will have to do otherwise. So what are you going to do with your 30 extra years? I'm sorry, it's not 30 extra years, it's 15 extra years. But what are you going to do with that extra time? Now, I'm sure you have a lot of things in your head already, like, oh, I'm going to go do this. But let me tell you something, that's actually not as easy of a question as you think it is. Because something funny starts to happen when you have that much time on your hands. When you wake up and you realize that you don't have to get up and you don't have to go to work, the alarm is a thing of the past because you just wake up whenever. You wake up when you wake up. Your body tells you when to wake up. I know it's hard to believe, but your body actually has a natural mechanism that makes us wake up when it is the best and most healthy time for us to do so. So what do you do? What do you do after you've gotten done watching all the TV that you want and all of the movies? What do you do after you go on vacation and see all the places you want to see? Well, it's kind of a difficult question. At first, you get kind of bored. You're like, what do I do with myself? What do I do with time? But when you wake up and you don't have anything that you have to do, you start to remember all of the little projects, all of the little things that you always wanted to finish, but you never had the chance because you were always living here. You were always living here. You start to remember that time that you took up karate and you went to like 3 classes and then realized that you just couldn't fit it into your schedule. You start to remember that your son is really getting into baseball and you really want to throw with him, but you couldn't before because you're stuck at work. Your boss asked you to stay late again and you just, or maybe you go home from work and you're just too dog tired. You start to remember that actually there was this medical condition that you wanted to get checked out, but it just never seemed like it was big enough of a deal. You start to feel like maybe going to the gym wouldn't be that hard. You're not tired and stressed from work. So you go to the gym at the beginning of the day when you have the most energy and you get the best workout that you can possibly get. You know, you have all of these fitness people telling you, oh, you have to get psyched, you have to get pumped. And how are we supposed to do that after working an 8-hour shift? I mean, yeah, if you're a professional fitness trainer, you make a life out of it. It's not that hard. But if you have to actually do a job, let alone 2 or 3 jobs, like some people work, when you actually have to do a job, it's really hard to actually get in to do that stuff. So when you free up your time to this extent, Even if it scares you a little bit at first, even if you get a little bit of anxiety that you feel like you should be doing something but you don't know what, don't worry. Just let that anxiety come. Let it feel the anxiety. And then I promise you that your brain will work itself out. You will figure out ways to fill the time that are much, much better than spending it at work. If you found this video useful, be sure to like and subscribe and share with all your friends.